So we finally have a working CIS Lambda system. It seems to have proper fueling for the most part. I do have a new oxygen sensor on the way because this one is probably original. The distributor I did rebuild. It wasn't seized up, but it was very gummy. The mechanical advance was not working the way that it should. These only have one spring in the distributor, so that threw me for a bit of a loop. The throttle on this thing also didn't open all the way when I got it. It was it'd give you about half throttle, and that was about it. It also had a transistor issue inside the brain box for the CIS Lambda system. So with all of that now working properly, it's actually not a bad car. It has passable throttle response. The steering's pretty good. The shifter I actually like. It's a little surprising considering the shift rod that goes to the transaxle is probably as long as I am tall. And I haven't rebuilt any of the shift linkage. It is a cable clutch. The clutch was out of adjustment when I got it. So got that fixed. It shifts a lot better after doing that. The car does have plenty of torque for average driving and just kind of cruising around. It's not the kind of car that, like, you know, it's an old air-cooled Bug or something where you never have enough power to keep up with traffic. I mean, this is shifting before 3,000 RPM. We're going 60 miles an hour at 2,400 RPM. The speedometer does read low by about 5 miles an hour, which is a little surprising, just checking off the GPS. Normally it's the opposite problem. Normally they read fast. So this one does read a little slow, 4 to 5 miles an hour at 60. Very easy car to heel and tow on. Easy to double clutch your shifts. Really, I found it to be a pleasure to drive, more so than what I really expected out of it. Everybody talks like these things are horrible cars, and they're really not. You just have to think about them within the rules that they were developed, right? This is not even an 80s car. This is a 70s car, developed in the early 70s. It didn't really end up becoming, I'll go to the next road, didn't really end up becoming a production car until 76, I think, in Europe, maybe in the US. So it's really not an 80s car, and everyone wants to compare it to E30s and stuff. It's more of an E21 competitor. Does have manual steering. It understeers a lot. This particular one was optioned with the front anti-roll bar and not the rear. The springs are very soft. You do have Koni adjustables on the front. I have not put the rears on yet. It's a fun little car. It soaks up bumps in a way that, you know, a modern car doesn't really do a great job of. It's got big tall sidewalls on the tires and plenty of suspension travel, and it does not have ABS. It does have the goofy cross-link brakes, and this one does pull to the side a little bit. I need to fix that. I think one of the brake circuits is not bled very well, so you end up with one of the front wheels and the opposite rear wheel kind of getting all their brake force more so than the others. And I pointed the wrong direction. It's the driver's side front and the passenger rear that seem to have a lot more brake force than they should. You can actually lock up the rear wheel pretty easily if you run over some paint or some dirt and you happen to be on the brakes. So not great, always something to fix. Air conditioning doesn't work. That's the only other thing that doesn't at this point. horrible launch. And I'm saying 60 at 55 because, like I said earlier, depending on what gets cut out, the speedometer is not accurate in this thing. This car does not have enough beans really to get off the line with any degree of wheel spin. I've never really tried launching it hard before. Obviously it needs a lot more aggression than that, but you know, if you're talking about normal driving, it's kind of a more practical number than, you know, a 6,000 RPM clutch drop and letting wheel spin be your clutch. There's really no point in shifting above 6,000 RPM. The power drops off dramatically up there. There's no airflow in these engines. They're really, really choked by the intake and head design. So, yeah, that's the big performance limiter. These things make 115 horsepower for this late production US car. They're 125 in Europe with slightly more compression and a different distributor, so never real major powerhouses. That's also rated in, you know, 1980s horsepower. The ratings have changed in how they measure that over the years, and so I think they would actually turn even less than that on a dyno. A lot of people get sub 100, you know, they're in the upper 80s of wheel horsepower, maybe into the 90s of wheel horsepower on these, so they're just not powerful cars. But, yep, that's quick drive of this thing now that it's actually kind of sort of working right for the first time. Keeps getting better.